All right, we are 2 days away from the NBA draft. It is this Wednesday. I'm very excited. This draft, I think, has a lot going on because obviously with NBA drafts, you don't have the free agency right before, you have it after. So the draft kind of sets up your off season. It's very close to the NBA Finals we just had, which congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But unfortunate that we couldn't get a real great Game 7 there. Shout out to the Pacers and their amazing season. But anyways, back to the draft. We have a lot of teams that have multiple first-round picks, like more than normal, and a lot of that is due to the new second apron, cap system that we have in terms of constructing teams. And I think on draft night, you might see a lot of potential trades. I know we always say that, but with this one, it might be even more because you get really punished if you have a certain amount of, players that have a lot of money and you go over these cap restrictions. It really hurts what you can do. And the draft is kind of the first step where teams might be able to get off of those. So not saying I'm predicting or doing any of that big stuff today. I did one trade last mock, which involved a player, which you should go check out because it ended up being pretty correct there. So shout out to me. But anyways, I just want to go over one more quick mock draft for you guys before the NBA draft. And of course, we'll get the NBA draft grades out once the draft finishes, both probably only the first round, but I'll do a full video the first and the second round. But enough talking. Let's go ahead and dive into the final mock draft for the 2025 NBA draft. All right, starting off with the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, we are going to go with Cooper Flag. Pretty simple pick there. I think a lot of the stuff we can get into with him is when the draft actually happens. This is more so just a mock where I'm going to be predicting. It's not going to be based on my specific draft rankings, but more so what we're kind of hearing in the consensus and what teams like. So just want to throw that out there. And a lot of the analysis I want to get into, I'll do it once the picks actually happen. So we know, hey, this guy's actually here. This is how it works, and this is how he fits. But obviously, with how lucky they got Cooper Flag going to the Mavericks, and it'll be pretty great to see what he can do there. So great for Dallas. The Spurs at 2. It doesn't seem like a Giannis trade is going to happen. And Kevin Durant has already been traded, obviously. So I think they are probably sticking at 2. They've had rumors that the Washington Wizards have attempted to give up a lot and have thrown in some, quote, surprising names to go ahead and move up. So maybe that happens on draft night. We saw it in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who traded up to get, it was from actually, I think the same, from number 6 to number 2, or maybe they were 5. I don't remember, but something very similar. And they ended up getting Travis Hunter. And in this case, the Wizards are trying to do that with Dylan Harper, but I don't think we have enough info of it right now, and I don't want to just completely throw the mock out the window if that does happen, but realize that that is a possibility, that this could be the Wizards trying to get Dylan Harper, which was obviously the plan earlier this season to get Flag or Harper in Washington. But with it being San Antonio and then having awesome lottery odds there, they are going to go ahead and snag Dylan Harper, him playing with obviously De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, all those guys, probably looking to try and be a playoff team next year, if not the year after for sure. So that's a great pick there. Or maybe they could use him if he plays really well down the line, because they also have Stephon Castle. So gonna have to figure out how to use all those guys. Maybe they use Castle in a trade instead. Maybe they use Harper in a trade if they still want to go ahead and pursue Giannis heavily this offseason. Who knows? But then number 3 is where it changes. So Ace Bailey was the pick, I think consensusly normally, because that's what we were reporting. But he has been having really odd just stuff going on. I mean, declining interviews. The guys who he has around him, I think for his agents, are not really that professional in my opinion. And it seems like the stuff that they're trying to do is not necessarily tank his stock, but have it go to where he can kind of be the face and get all the touches. That seems to be what they want to do, which would be going down to, not the 76ers at 3, but Daryl Morey reportedly was like, I don't care, like I'm just going to take the best player or whatever. So if he still thinks that's Ace Bailey, I think Ace Bailey is still absolutely in play here. But for mock draft purposes, I've heard too much to continue that, and it's a mock, so might as well go different. And we're going to actually go to VJ Edgecombe. VJ Edgecombe seems to be the next player in line if it's not Ace Bailey. And if the Sixers do go with Ace Bailey, I think VJ Edgecombe is the pick right after that to the Charlotte Hornets. So he's guaranteed a top 5 pick. VJ Edgecombe is 100%. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, I think while they do have a lot of guards there, Maxey, McCain, and Edgecombe, he's still obviously a great player, and I think worth taking at this spot here in terms of how that would work. Obviously you're just going to maybe have to run a small unit up there, but VJ is a very good defender, so it's not like you're inept defensively there. Even if Maxey and McCain aren't the greatest defenders, VJ is, and he's very good, so he would at least be able to play the 3, but I really like him better as a 2, to be honest. But he'll go there, and then the Hornets at 3 or 4 again. This would be VJ. With the guys on the board, I'm not taking Ace Bailey. I do not like Ace Bailey to the Hornets. I would not like that fit. Trey Johnson is my number 3 player, so as a fan, I would love to see him on my team, but I understand the fit is not as ideal defensively. I do understand that. The more I kind of looked into it, and if VJ is not here, which would definitely be the pick, I think the next best one is honestly Con Knipple out of Duke. He is extremely safe. I would totally be fine with this as a fan. He's, as you see here, 6'7". He can play the 3, or is more likely going to be the 2, but he can switch between either one. Now, again, with Ace Bailey, if you pick him, you wouldn't be tied to Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is definitely a contract you're looking to trade. But either way, just as a Hornets fan and someone who's known them a while, grabbing this, 1, I doubt he wants to be here, but 2, grabbing this like developmental player, that obviously has all the traits. Like I've just heard that so many times before. And the Hornets, for the first time in a while, have some guys. Like they got blessed with the 2nd pick to get Brandon Miller. They got blessed with the 3rd pick to get LaMelo Ball. I know they aren't the greatest names, but they can improve, and they are the players there that you're looking towards to show, hey, I can turn out to be a star. With, I think LaMelo already is, but being even better and getting guys around them that I think just are guaranteed good would help a lot. Con Knipple will not fail. He's guaranteed to be good. It's just how good he'll be, but he's guaranteed not to fail. So, and it's worth a 4th pick in my opinion. While maybe Ace Bailey or Trey or someone else, someone maybe down the line potentially has a better season, or potentially not a better season, but a better career, I still think it's way too much of a projection for this team, and I like Con here, and I think at the end of the day, he's going to be one of the 10 best players in the class, no question. So I'll have the Hornets go him. The Jazz at 5, this is easy. Also, not going to be Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey falls below here too, because I think they like Trey Johnson here, and I think this can kind of be the guy that they look at to try and be their main franchise guy. They don't really have someone like this that is just this great scoring phenom. They kind of need more of that. I know they have other guys like Colin Sexton, Clarkson. Those aren't guys you're building around, obviously. And they've drafted a lot before, had some potential issues with injuries that they've with their draft picks, and maybe guys haven't played as well. But I think Trey Johnson would be the best player on that team at the end of the year, maybe even later, and that's with Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler, maybe because one of those 2 guys is probably going to be gone. But I think at the lowest, he's going to be the 2nd best player on the Jazz at the end of the year. And I think this would be a great pick for the Utah Jazz. Then the Wizards at 6, they don't trade up, they stay here, and they still might get a guy that some people consider in that top 3, and that is Ace Bailey. This is Ace Bailey's floor. I'm not doing it, again, based off my boards. I have Ace Bailey as the 6th best player because of my preferences with him as a prospect, but it turns out even now he might still fall here because of the stuff with interviews and everything like that. But this would be a pretty good, all things considered, pretty good spot for him in terms of just being able to be the main guy. If that's what he wants, this would definitely be the place to do that. Getting all the minutes, and he would probably start at the 3 or the 4, something like that, and that would work out for him. It would just be up to, do you trust the development there? And that's kind of hard to predict, but either way, I think for what he wants, he would get what he wants if he wants his own team and stuff like that, or if he goes to the Jazz or something like that. Then at 7 with the Pelicans, I think the top 6 is pretty set. I think those 6 players are for sure, in whatever order, besides 1 and 2, the top 6 picks. Here it gets a little different, but there are still guys I think that are guaranteed to be in the top 10. And one of them is what it seems like is Jeremiah Fears. So I'm going to go Jeremiah Fears here for the Pelicans. I think this is just going to be whatever the best point guard or center is on the board for them. They have a second pick later in the first round, and it's kind of just going to be what they prefer. I think Malawach and Queen are also there, obviously. But CJ McCollum is 34 years old on the last year of his deal. Yves Missy's the guy they drafted last year out of Baylor at the center. He's the only real center on the roster right now, but he is in a good, a good player. But it seems like Fears is the most wanted there. I think it's either Fears, and they've also had linkings to Derek Queen. So if it's not Jeremiah Fears, it could be Derek Queen. But we will go ahead and go Fears here, who can take over that point guard role, getting the potential upside pick, and he's definitely going to be a top 10 pick. And then the Brooklyn Nets at 8. This one, I've had a guy that's climbed up in terms of where we think he's going to go, and I think the Nets is pretty similar to the Pelicans in terms of just best point guard or center. And while I know Kamal Malawach is definitely better on a lot of boards, I think from what they might go with, could be Kasparis, and I think we're just going to go ahead and do it here. I understand I did Malawach, I did Derek Queen last time, and I could totally see Malawach as well. It'd be one of those guys, but if Jeremiah Fears is still there, it could be him, but it could also be Kasparis Jakachonis out of Illinois. I think he's gotten a lot of buzz to be a top 10 pick for sure. If it's not here, then maybe the Raptors, maybe the Suns. It seems like one of those 3 teams might snag him in this top 10 range, and I think it totally makes sense. In my last mock, I had him going there, but I had them trading up for him later in the draft. Not too later, but like around 13 or so, or 12. But here, I think they are fine just taking him at 8, because it seems like that's where he might go, and they definitely need it. Like I said, they do not have a lot of playmaking on that team. They definitely need help there, and Kasparis is definitely one of the best playmakers in the class, so good pick for them. The Raptors at 9, I still think it's center. I still think it's Kaman. I'm not really changing this here. I still think it makes a lot of sense. I think Kaman is also probably going to be a top 10 pick. I think even more so than Kasparis, just because the Kasparis stuff is going on a little bit later, whereas Malawach has kind of been seen to be a top 10 pick the whole draft. So that seems like not a full lock, but a bit. And then the Suns is the first one here. Obviously, if you watch the last mock draft, I had basically the exact trade. I had the 2 players. The picks it was number 10, and I did have them swapping 29, but that didn't end up happening. They just traded a bunch of seconds. But that's a big dub for me. I even had a guy in my comments that, oh my God, it was the longest thread ever going over why they won't go ahead and do this or whatever. So that was a pretty nice prediction there from me. But I had them taking Carter Bryant in the last one. And in this one, I don't have a lot of time to just wait for the rumors that they like a certain player or whatever. But there's a few picks, and I do think Carter Bryant could be one of them. I think could be Colin Murray-Boyles. We've seen Igor Demon going just all over the place. Noah Sengwe is there as well. But reportedly, they do really like Derek Queen. And if he's on the board, I think the Suns are probably going to take him. I think Queen's floor is like the Bulls at 12, but I think the Suns, they reportedly want to get size in the building, but also guys that can help right now. Queen is one of that. It's just he is obviously a little more risky with, as we've gone over, his style of play is not the norm for big men and just stuff like that. He's not as athletic, but we've seen players like that succeed all the time. So I'd be very intrigued to see Derek Queen on the Suns, because he would kind of, they seem like they want to trade Bradley Beal. They'll have Devin Booker, but in terms of guys they would build around, like, Devin Booker, we'll see how long he is there for, but it would kind of just be Queen's show a little bit, like he would get a lot of run there in Phoenix. So I'd be pretty happy for him if he can go there. So I'll have them take Derek Queen. The Trailblazers at 11 with Carter Bryant still on the board. I think they just go ahead and pull the trigger and take him. 3 need guys are very much needed in the NBA. Just something that they value a lot. I did Colin Murray-Boyles last time. I could still see that happening, but with Carter here, I feel like they're probably just going to snag him And then at 12 with the Bulls, I'm sorry, Bulls fans. I did this last time, I know. But I'm probably going to do it again because I just think it makes sense. And this team is 100% trading up. They are. I just don't know where. This one just makes the most sense. It's going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to do 12 for 19 and 26. So you pick ahead of their 27th pick. This is basically the trade I did last time. And if the Bulls stay here, I think they're probably looking at some kind of big men, whether it's Colin Murray-Boyles, Noah Sengue, Thomas Sorber. But with the Nets trading up to 12, I'm going to go a guy that's been rising up a little bit and has been getting a lot of late lottery buzz. And I think the Nets are trading here because they're trading ahead of teams like the Hawks and the Spurs that are also looking at big men. And I'm going to have them take Thomas Sorber here. I had him going much lower because that's where he was projected, but I like him as a prospect. I have him around this range, and it seems like a lot of the NBA is kind of agreeing, at least the last minute, to him going here, and I think that'd be good. Nick Claxton, you're not committed to, and I think Sorber, the defensive potential is just absolutely massive for him here, and I like just this draft. If they can kind of go ahead and do this here, the first 2 picks, like that'd be really great for the Nets. So we'll go ahead and take them there, and then the Bulls obviously get 2 first-round picks. Good for them. I think they again need a lot of young players in that building. Then we have the Hawks at 13. I went back and forth between a few guys. Probably going to be some kind of big. I went Asa Newell last time. I'm going to go Colin Murray-Boyles this time. It's either Noah or Asa or him, in my opinion. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they like Colin Murray-Boyles the most. And Igor Demin has also been a potential play here at 13. So we'll go ahead and stack him there. The Spurs at 14, I think I'm going to go Noah Sengue. It's hard for me to find a home for him because he's gotten a lot of just lottery hype. Like, he seems like he's a guaranteed lottery pick. And I've even seen him go as high as 9 to the Raptors. And he could go somewhere higher than 14. So I'm not sure, but if he's available with the Spurs pick, it seems like he's probably going to go there. So yes, they go another Frenchman in this draft. And then with the Thunder at 15, I'm going to have them go Jace Richardson. I know the Thunder, we don't know what they're really going to do with, okay, who are they going to pick? What are they going to do? They have just won the title, obviously, have all these picks. It's kind of hard to figure out. They have all the guys they like to play are basically on the roster next year. So hard to figure out. I couldn't find out a perfect, like, okay, this team's trading up for this kind of trade. So at least for 15, I'll leave it. And I think Jace makes a lot of sense. He's the best 3-point shooter here. They absolutely need 3-point shooting. And I hope he plays. I really do. For his development, I don't know if I would love the Thunder in terms of how much time he could get, but I feel like he's good enough to prove that he can deserve minutes, especially with the lack of 3-point shooting they have in general, and they just won the title. So if they can add that, I mean, that would just help them immensely, because it seems like they are going to keep their core for a long time, relative to how long other teams do it, especially with the second apron this year. It's going to be even harder to do that stuff, and it seems like the Thunder might be able to do it. So I say, why not add a guy that helps your weakness here? Then 16, the Grizzlies newly get this first round pick, obviously from the Desmond Bane trade. And at 16, I'm going to have them go Igor Demin out of BYU. I think a guard is probably something that they definitely need to go for. Maybe because of the Ja situation, his injuries, all that stuff. I'm not sure, but he can also, he's 6'8", so he can also play the 2 if he needs to, but a great playmaker. I think they need help in that department as well, and the guys they traded for, it's not like they're great playmakers either, in Cole Anthony. I do think this pick makes a lot of sense with them being there at 16. 17, the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm going to have them just go BPA, and in my opinion, and with the board, I think it could be Asa Newell, but I'm going to go Cedric Coward out of Washington State. I think he could, I'm not really sure where he's going to go, to be honest. I think he could go maybe as high as, I don't even know, 12 or something like that, maybe 11, but as low as in the 20s. Seems like he could go anywhere in that range. I'm just not 100% sure, but in this mock, I think he does fit here, and I think this would be a great pick for Minnesota, getting a guy who just can help fill roles that potentially might be left in free agency or later on. I know that they did trade for DiVincenzo. They have a few other guys on that roster, but it seemed like they just were missing a little bit to get over the hump. Obviously, Anthony Edwards needs to be more efficient, but I think Cedric Howard has awesome potential, and if they can hit on him, this could be a pick that could set them over the top to at least make the finals. And I think that's if he hits what I think his ceiling potentially is, which is a very good, like maybe a little bit lesser like Jalen Williams type, who just won the finals with Shea and the Thunder. Like I think that's what Cedric Howard can be. And it's just a question, a big question if he can. But I do believe, and I think the Timberwolves will be happy with him there. The Wizards at 14. This is going to be Asa Anunoby stopping right here. Again, hard to find out where he's going to be. Someone that is obviously reported to go higher is just going to fall. It's just going to happen. It always happens. And I think he can at least come here and help add to their kind of lack of big men, because Sarr is kind of the only one. And they do have, obviously, Ace Bailey, but these guys play very differently. Ace is definitely more of a 4, whereas Ace is probably more of Ace is more of a 3 who can play the 4, while Asa Anunoby is more of like a 4 who can also play the 5. So they aren't directly the same player. And if you get these 3, you would kind of set up your front court to where your back court you addressed a lot in last year's draft with Bilal Coulibaly, who can play shooting guard, Keyshawn George, who's a point guard. So get these guys, and hey, these are your young starting 5 basically for your future there. So we'll go Asa here. The Bulls then get up here at 19. If Asa Anunoby was on the board, I definitely would have taken him. But there's a guy who's been getting a lot of hype and is actually invited to the green room, and they need a center, and that's Juan Beringer out of France, one of the youngest players in the draft. They definitely need a center, and in this case, they trade down and still go ahead and get one that's definitely worth it being in the first round. Again, I think if Asa Anunoby was available, they would probably take him. But like I said, he's been getting a lot of first-round buzz. He got invited to the green room, which probably means he's going to be a first-round pick for sure. He's raw, but very talented center, and the Bulls, I think, would be fine taking upside swings there, with their roster being in that kind of weird, middle ground portion of just good enough to maybe make the plan, but not really do much outside of that. The Heat at 20, I'm going to stick with what I've always had. Nick Clifford makes a ton of sense. They still want guys right now. Love Nick Clifford. Hopefully he can succeed there in Miami. The Jazz also have the 21st overall pick. And here I think I'm going to go Will Riley. They have the ability to take more upside swings on these guys, and Will Riley is much different from Trey Johnson. He's much taller, but he's way more lanky, but he can play defense. Good defender. He can play the shooting guard or the small forward. I think, again, upside swing here. For sure, he's a bit raw, but I like the potential here with the Jazz. Atlanta also has another first-round pick at 22, and I'm going to go ahead and go Nolan Traore. Seems like he's gone up a little bit after recovering from not a great start overseas, and I think the Hawks are definitely, with one of these two first-round picks, looking at getting some kind of guard insurance. I think, maybe they go... if they don't go a big early, if some great guy falls that they just take and it's not a big, I think they could definitely look at a big here. But I do really think the Hawks, with one of these two first, should go ahead and get some kind of backup guard who can play point guard. Maybe it isn't Traore, maybe it's someone else, but either way, I still think the Hawks should be looking at guard, and Traore does fit, as he is probably the best guard available in the first round. Then the Pelicans at 23 made that trade with the Pacers right before, and they are going to go ahead. I had this player to the Pacers in the last mock. I'm just going to go with it again. I'm going to go Danny Wolf to the Pelicans. Now, this depends on what they do at number 7. If they take Derek Queen, Malawach, or someone else, this is probably going to be maybe a guard or someone different. Just definitely not going to be a big. But since we had them taking Jeremiah Fears, then I'm going to go ahead and go Danny Wolf here for them. I think, like we said, Yves Missis is the only center, but that's about it. Danny Wolf brings a much different dynamic as a big man who is just very interesting. And with the Pelicans, they're just in a weird spot. So, hey, why not go ahead and get a guy who can help out with your playmaking a bit? Because all your point guards, like, none of them are really, like, pure playmakers necessarily. I mean, CJ can, DeJounte can, Fears can, but none of them are, like, necessarily that gifted. So I think while Danny Wolf isn't necessarily super gifted, for a big man, he is as a passer. So just having him there, I think, would also add on to the playmaking, which is definitely needed from an unusual spot. So I really like him there. The Thunder at 24, I've had them trade this a few times. I'm just not going to do it here. I don't want to. It's just hard to figure out a specific trade, and I want to keep most of these exactly what they would do if they were there, because most of these guys are just going to stay where they are. Obviously a majority. We might have a lot of trades, but that doesn't mean the majority of them are going to be trades. But if they do stay here, whether they trade, 15 or maybe they trade 24, keep the other one, I think one of these two guys they should get. And obviously Jace Richardson they had here, and I'm going to go Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's after that. This is another guy who can help play right now, stretch four, going to help with the shooting. I think both of these guys, even if they don't play a lot in year one, I think year two they could help immensely for this Thunder team. So again, hey, continue to look to the future here for the Oklahoma City Thunder drafting. I mean, it's what they've done. I understand this could be more of a developmental guy with, them having two players coming in. It probably will be, but they just have so many of those guys that they've drafted that I just kind of prefer getting someone who is ready right now. Then at number 25, the Magic. This one's really easy. They made that trade with the Grizzlies, obviously to fix their shooting, but that doesn't mean it's still 100% fixed. So I think getting a guy who's the best guard shooter left. You have Liam McNeely there, obviously. That could be an easy pick. But I'm going to go Walter Clayton. I think this makes total sense. Gets him in the first round. Needs shooting. If Jace Richardson falls, I think this is his floor for sure. But they're looking to win right now, and the window in the East is pretty open. The Celtics and the Pacers, the two teams that just went to the finals out of the East the last 2 years, unfortunately, are probably going to be out with their best player next year. So you are looking at the Cavs and the Knicks as the two leaders there. And after that, I think it's wide open. And even then, both of those teams, I think, are obviously beatable with the cores that they had. So I think the Magic are looking at themselves thinking, if we stay healthy, we can be right there with them. So go ahead and get a guy who can help you do that right now. And that's Walter Clayton. So I think that would be an awesome pick for the Magic. Then the Bulls, having traded back at 26, I think they kind of just look at BPA. Could be Ben Seraph as more of a developmental play, Noah Pena, Drake Powell, Max, but they already kind of got a big man. So I think we'll go with the one that does make sense. Liam McNeely might not fall this far, to be honest, but I do like this range for him. A bit of a raw four, good shooter though. At least was in high school. College was a little bit less, but he does show that he can shoot the ball in general. And Patrick Williams, I think definitely needs kind of some more guys there at the four, and not just relying on him to be there, because he's obviously not necessarily a great scorer himself, more of a defender. So McNeely has that upside, so we'll go him at 26. Then 27, the Nets with their other pick. I think 100% one of these three first-round picks, it's going to be some kind of developmental guy, 100%. So with that, we're going to go a guy who's gotten a lot of love in the first round, and that's Hugo Gonzalez out of Spain. Definitely very raw, in my opinion. I honestly don't have a ton of, stuff to say with him in terms of love. He was not one of my favorite prospects, but definitely very much like if you were to go in the first round, the Nets would be a team that would make total sense, because they just drafted two guys that are upside plays, but are still probably going to play right now. Hugo's definitely very much a raw upside play, like really raw. So we'll have him go there. And he fits, they get point guard, they get center, and then go small forward here. So nice, well-rounded draft for the Nets if they do that. Then the Celtics at 28. I went this last time. I'm going to stick with it. It makes sense. We're going to go Max Raymond out of Stanford. It just makes total sense. It seems like they're big men. With the free agency coming up, they might move off one of maybe Kristaps or Drew Holiday. I think Kristaps is a little more likely because of the injury history, but Luke Cornett is also a free agent, so Max definitely makes sense. Seems like they want to get some kind of big man to fill this, that role there, because he is a stretch four. He can shoot. So 7-footer who can shoot makes sense. The Suns at 29. This is a pick I really like for them. Could go a number of different ways, but I'm going to go a guy that I personally like and I think would fit, and that's Adu Thiero out of Arkansas. I really want him to be a first-round pick. I think he's worth it. I know they got a defender last year in Ryan Dunn, but the defense was still not ideal. And I think you, again, could go a few guys here. It depends on who they go at number 10, but if they get their big and Derek Queen, I think that they probably want to look to get a few more like high floor players. There was a report that said they're looking to get like 3 guys at least out of this draft that can help play right now. And Adu Thiero is absolutely going to do that for the Phoenix Suns. So defender can play right now. I really like him. I think that'd be a great pick. And then 30, the Clippers have a few guys you could go. Ben Seraph and Noah Pena are ones that I would definitely see and make sense. Drake Powell, maybe if a team trades up for him, could be a first-round pick. But the one that we are going to go with is Ryan Kalkbrenner. Again, we did it last time. Still doing it here. Makes sense. Ivica Zubac is their only real big. Kalkbrenner would be a great backup. Definitely proved that he could play in his multiple years at Creighton. Super massive dude, high floor, not necessarily high ceiling, but for the Clippers, I don't think that necessarily matters. I think that would be a good pick for them. And this is the final mock draft. We'll see how many we get correct, not sure, but just excited for the chaos. Obviously, after that, we'll go ahead and get a draft grade video out for you guys. Once the first round finishes, I'll do kind of just, posts about it, so keep an eye out for my social media. Maybe I'll do a video on it really quick, but at the end, in totality, we'll do a draft grade video when the second round's over too, because the second round happens annoyingly a day later, so even if it's just one round. But some good second round guys I like too that we could see there, like we mentioned, Ben Seraph, but I also like Sion James, Micah Peavy. There's a lot of second round guys that you might not know that I think could help raise a team's grade if they go wild in the second round. But this is the first round, the final mock. We'll see how it is on Wednesday. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. We'll get more videos out, like I said, later. And as always, stay smart, stay sharp, and I will see you guys later. Peace.